It was Sunday morning. The alarm clock went off like an air raid siren. I reached to the nightstand near the bed to shut it off. Damn, it was the third alarm clock I've lost this month. I was going to have to be more careful. I struggled out of bed with the grace of an Olympic athlete. No gold medal there. I found myself on the floor next to a pile of sweaty socks and an empty six-pack. The taste in my mouth was awful, like a small furry animal crawled inside it during the night and died there. My eyes looked like aerial road maps of Frankfurt. As I looked for a pack of smokes, I tried to remember where I was last night and how much alcohol I had ingested. I must have been really fried because I still had my shoes on my hands. I lit a stale cigarette and emptied the contents of my jacket pocket on the floor. Let's see, a couple of pieces of gum, some crumpled up phone numbers, about 25 marks and 10 pfennig pieces, and a cassette tape. I picked up the small black tape and stared at it, waiting for my eyes to focus so I could read the small writing on it. It said, Maxell. Upon closer inspection, I was able to make out another name, Anke Wendland. Anke Wendland. Well, I didn't know any Anke Wendland, but somehow I wound up with her cassette. It could be good, though. I dusted off my Walkman and shoved in the tape. The music started, and I decided I'd better sit down and check this out. Damn, that was the second chair I've lost this week.
Ich wollte dich vergessen, so viele Jahre lang. Komm und halt mich fest, ich möchte nicht bei dir sein. Es fängt von vorne an. Sonne grinst durch Jalousien, ein Ventilator rauscht. Sag's, ich war ein Kind und küss mir meine Tränen weg. Es fängt von vorne an. Regenbogen in deinem Blick. Ich wein doch nur vor Glück. Regenbogen in deinem Blick. Ich wein doch nur vor Glück. Regenbogen in deinem Blick. Ich wein doch nur vor Glück. Regenbogen in deinem Blick.
As the music played on, I crushed out my cigarette on last week's copy of Billboard magazine. Not a good idea. The cheap paper caught on fire, and my entire apartment was burning before I could remember where my water pistol was. When the smoke cleared and the firemen were gone, all I had was a pair of hush puppies on my hands and the Anke Wendland cassette. No problem, the insurance company should pay for most of the stuff, just like last time. My problem now is to find out who Anke Wendland was, and how the mysterious cassette managed to fall into my hands. The songs on the tape were good, too good. I wondered how long I would be able to keep Anke a secret. If the word got out and got to the wrong people, there's no telling what could happen. She could wind up on the front page of Rolling Stone, or even worse with a hot video on MTV. There was no doubt about it. I had to get to Anke Wendland first, before she could fall prey to some fast-talking manager or a crackerjack record producer. First, I needed a plan. I racked my brains for hours, and then decided to hit the music cafes around town to look for clues. I fell down the steps of my apartment building and walked out onto the street. The music from the tape played over and over in my head like a broken jukebox. I couldn't forget the melody, and the lyrics I couldn't understand. I made a mental note that if I ever met Anke, I'd ask her what the songs really meant. My car wasn't hard to find. It's the only one on the block filled to the top with empty bottles of sect and parking tickets dating back to when listening to ABBA records was really hip. I got in the car, a 280ZX, which is a pretty fancy license number for a 72 Enta. While I waited for the car to start and the blue smoke from under the hood to clear, I threw the Anke Wendland cassette in the car tape deck. The sound was pretty good, but then again the acoustics in my car are always good. Must be something to do with the upholstery. I don't have any. As I listened to the song, I thought of what Anke Wendland might say at her first press interview. How would she explain this song, Mentioned Here, for example?
Ja, ist ein Song über die Träume, die jemand hat. Die Träume, jemand sein zu wollen und jemand, eigentlich ist es auch, meint es auch irgendwie jemanden zu beherrschen, aber es ist sehr fantasievoll. Ich finde, das ist ein sehr fantasievoller Text, den jeder anders assoziieren kann.
Gibt es einen Zauber? Dann bitte sag mir, lass mich nicht länger warten. Komm, gib mir deine Hand. Dies Land wäre mein Revier und du das schöne Menschentier in meinem Garten. Dies Land wäre mein Revier und du das schöne Menschentier in meinem Garten. Dies Land wäre mein Revier.
I pulled up to one of the downtown music cafes. I was lucky to get a parking spot right out front. I opened the car door and got out. I made a mental note to remember next time to take off my seatbelt first. The cafe was packed like a fishnet after a big haul. Cigarette smoke hung in the air like at Hiroshima. After ordering a diet scotch from the barmaid, I bumped into a few friends of mine.
Hey, pass auf, du!
And after a small misunderstanding with a truck driver, I started asking around to see if anyone knew about Anke Wendland.
Anke Wendland? Oh, I don't know. Maybe a pretty nice girl?
I don't know.
No idea.
Oh, wait, yeah, I know who she is. Is she the girl who sells underwear to KaDeWe?
After a while, it was pretty clear to me that the local regulars would be no help at all. I imagined what Anke might say if I ever got a chance to ask her.
Wer ist Anke Wendland? Anke Wendland ist das Menschentier. Anke Wendland ist ein Menschentier. Ja, würde ich sagen.
I remembered a song on the tape about the famous Reeperbahn in Hamburg, and decided that Hamburg might be a good place to start my search for the dame with the good pipes. Anyway, I always wanted to check out the Reeperbahn. A friend of mine once told me that it's kind of like a Disneyland for adults. Maybe someone on the Reeperbahn could help me piece together the Anke Wendland puzzle.
Das war hier mein Revier. So morgens gegen 4. Doch jetzt da bin ich müde und schmink mich wieder ab. Auf der Bühne standen Hocker, da saß ich immer drauf. Wenn der Vorhang aufging, hörte ich Applaus.
Das ist mein Favorit, dieser Song, weil ich mich sehr, sehr gut in diese Frau reinversetzen kann, die das erlebt. Und weil dieser Song sehr tief ist und sehr ehrlich und ja, ich spüre den sehr. Und ich freue mich sehr, sehr, diesen Song live bringen zu dürfen, irgendwann demnächst.
155 Plätze, die kamen alle wegen mir. Und meine Kleider waren türkis.
My plane touched down in Hamburg a couple of hours later. The flight was uneventful. Up until the landing. It just wasn't my day. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. On the way out, I apologized to the stewardess about the seatbelt. Whoever this Anke broad was, she was right about the Reeperbahn. It was cold. Bums, prostitutes, and junkies littered the sidewalk like doggy-doo. Everyone was looking for some kind of action. I was looking for Anke Wendland. My friend was wrong. The Reeperbahn isn't anything like Disneyland. I spent most of the night walking from one sleaze joint to another, asking if anyone knew a girl singer named Anke. Nobody would talk. It was 4 a.m. when I finally had my first big break. I got the broad's telephone number. It was in the phone book, under W. I decided to wait till morning to call, though. No telling what kind of mood she might be in at 4 a.m. I checked into a sleazy hotel. The guy at the desk was short and fat and smelled like a dead carp. He didn't know how much to charge me for the room for the night. He said nobody ever stayed longer than an hour. I tossed him a couple of pounds of 10 pfennig pieces that were still in my jacket pocket and headed for my room. The fat man wasn't happy. As I dozed off, the Anke Wendland music played over and over again in my head. I woke up the next morning at the crack of noon, feeling closer than ever to getting to Anke Wendland. I was hot on her trail, as they say. I was hooked on the music, too. Every song had a different story. Every song was a clue. All I had to do was piece them all together, and the Anke Wendland case would be history. Then a terrible thought struck me. What if I'm too late? What if someone else has gotten to her first? She could be signing a major record deal right now. The hair in my nose began to sweat at the mere thought that the dame might already have been exploited and pampered by the organized record industry. I didn't bother trying to reach her by phone. I flagged down a taxi and told the driver to take me to the coast. I had to get to the North Beach, I said. Anke Wendland had a song about the northern coast, and I knew it was a long shot, but maybe, just maybe, I could find her there.
Manche Tage sind so endlos. Ein Himmel wie aus Stahl. Und im Hafen warten Schiffe. Die alte Werft, die gibt's nicht mehr. Manche Wasser, die sind tief. Manche Tage sind zu lang. Manche Mädchen, die sind wild. Hier hinten am Nordstrand.
The North Beach was everything and nothing, just like in the summer. I spent most of the afternoon scraping sand out of my shoes, trying to figure out what to do next. I had so many questions to ask Anke. The only problem was to find her first. Time was running out. I was running low on cash and I hadn't changed clothes in 3 days. I was beginning to smell like those guys on the Reeperbahn. As I walked along the beach, I began to have doubts about this whole adventure. Maybe I expected to find her on the beach soaking in suntan oil with a big sign hanging around her neck saying, "I'm Anke Wendland." I walked for miles, but all I saw soaking on the beach was a couple of dead seagulls and some tourists from Finland. It looked like I would never find out who Anke Wendland was. It's probably too late anyway, I thought. She's probably already on her way to Gold Recordsville. Maybe I'll see her on TV endorsing tennis shoes or something. I decided to grab the next flight home, and I wondered if I could ever forget the music.
Im 20. Stock. Und heimlich hast du Angst. Du musst zur Konferenz. Du lieferst nur noch Siegel. Und dies regiert das Geld. Das Augen wie ein kalter Fisch. Und die Stimme wie Metall. In deinen Weltfabriken wird man auf dein Befehl. Naja, du bist ein Profi. In deinen Adern fließt Öl. Komm her, sag dein Gewissen und flüstert dir ins Ohr. Karriere, da wo du bist, will ich nicht hin. Du bist nicht
Meine Karriere ist eigentlich nicht sehr wichtig für mich, wenn du das meinst. Ich würde nicht sagen, dass ich jetzt Karriere machen möchte, sondern der Song behandelt einige Sorte dieser Menschen, die deren Herz einfach bei anderen Anblicken schlägt, als wenn mein Herz bei einem bestimmten Anblick schlägt. Und Karriere, der Song sagt eigentlich etwas darüber aus.
Komm her, sag dein Gewissen und flüstert dir ins Ohr. Karriere, da wo du bist, will ich nicht hin. Du bist eine Bettfigur.
My career on the North Beach was over. I got on my plane home and found a seat. We taxied down the runway and the stewardess reminded me to put on my seatbelt. Typical. They always remind you to put them on, but they never remind you to take them off. So stupid. The seat next to me was empty, so I decided to take off my shoes and stretch out. I pulled off my hush puppies and half the North Beach fell out onto the floor of the airplane. I asked the stewardess for a Diet Scotch. She brought me a small plastic pail and a shovel. Everyone tries to be cute. As I shoveled the North Beach sand back into my hush puppies, I thought again about Anke Wendland. Even though I couldn't find her and I hadn't talked to her, I felt somehow like I already knew her. After all, wasn't that what the music was all about? Wasn't the music itself the Anke Wendland story? The kids in the city, the Reeperbahn, the North Beach, all the other songs, weren't those pieces of her life, her personality? I was convinced that Anke lived all those things herself, and through her music I had already met her and learned all about her. The songs touched me, just like the experiences behind the songs had probably touched her. I felt silly in a way. I had searched so hard to find Anke Wendland, and she was there all the time, right in front of my nose, on the tape. I felt silly that I had spent hours and hours on the Reeperbahn and on the beach looking for something I had all the time. And I really felt silly scooping sand into my shoes with a plastic shovel on an airplane. I smiled. I wonder how many other people are still out there looking for her. And I wondered how many others had already discovered what I had. How many other people knew Anke Wendland like I did? And how many other people were scooping sand into their shoes on this airplane? I laughed. Maybe I wasn't so dumb after all. I closed my eyes and the music started playing again in my head.
Das Ticken einer Uhr, ein Herzschlag lang. Feuerregen auf dem Feld und ein Riesenrand. Fensterscheiben schwarz und Fliegendreck. Bei uns zu Haus. Die Spielzeugsonne hat dein Herz verbrannt. Mutter taucht manchmal auf aus der Vergangenheit. Die Bäuerin liegt tot im Wald. Aus Einsamkeit. Jahre Sturm und Regen, hinterm Horizont, Regenbogen, Kinderseele. 14 Jahre Sturm und Regen, hinterm Horizont, Regenbogen, Kinderseele. 14 Jahre
Damn seatbelts.